Game week 5 is almost over and it is by far the worst game week of the season. So it's time to have a look at my transfer plans going into game week 6. Which of the many players I want to sell am I actually going to sell this week? What is up everyone, FPL Harry here and welcome back to another video. We are having a look at my game week 6 transfer plans. Game week 5, one game left to play on Monday night between Nottingham Forest and Burnley, has been a truly awful game week. If you have anything more than 2 returns in your team, including Erling Haaland and one other, you've probably got a green arrow. I've only got 2 at the moment. I'm basically set to have my worst game week of the season so far. It was a dreadful game week, but we're going to have a look at what I'm going to do for game week 6. We'll review game week 5 if I really want to in my team selection video later on in the week. Before we dive in, I'm not going to ask you to like, I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. I actually just want to say a massive thank you. If you are watching this, over the weekend during the deadline stream, we hit 80,000 subscribers. This is beyond my wildest dreams, my wildest imagination of how far this channel has gone and how much support you have shown the channel and me over the past, this season, last season, and since I started the channel. So this is just a little thank you so much. I hope you continue to enjoy the content. I hope you continue to follow me. And yeah, thank you so much for where we've got so far. But we're going to have a look. So my team up on screen now is how I'm lining up for game week 6 at the moment. I have 2 free transfers and I have 1.9 million in the bank. I'm actually quite happy with the transfers I've made over the past couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I brought in James Maddison instead of going for Raheem Sterling. So that was a correct decision, I think, looking at the way that Spurs and Chelsea are performing. Although we did see a blank for Spurs going into game week 5, of course. Maddison didn't get anything and Son didn't as well. But also going into this week as well, I decided not to buy Heung-min Son in replace of my midfielders. Now, none of them really did enough to keep them, to be honest, but Son of course did nothing, and I actually brought in Fabian Schär, who did score 7 points, and it sets me up well going forward having that Newcastle defender in my team already. So I'm quite happy with those, but there are a lot of blanks in my team this week. Now I am actually considering wildcarding this week. I think the chance of me doing it are probably only about 20%, but I will consider it later on in the week a little bit more once I've had a little bit of time to digest and decide whether it was actually just a bad game week, and you know, a lot of players blanking in the same game week is always annoying, or whether it's actually something I need to consider wildcarding. A lot of players in my midfield, so particularly the Manchester United duo in Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, continue to disappoint. I also have double Chelsea in there in Jackson and Ben Chilwell. I do have a Jordan Pickford shaped hole in my team. I still am not a fan of the Everton defence generally going forward. Bryan Mbeumo I'm happy with, Maddison I'm happy with, Haaland I'm happy with. Defensively I'm pretty happy with apart from Ben Chilwell. Kabore did come back into the Luton team, so he might be okay for the double. So really it's the Manchester United duo, it's the Chelsea duo that I'm really looking at, and potentially a goalkeeper transfer are the ones that I would change if I played my wildcard. But I do have 2 free transfers this week and I can do quite a lot with them, and I'm actually considering a -4 as well. So looking at the first set of transfers that I can make, before going into this week and part of the deadline stream, I mentioned if I'd go into this week and there's nothing I want to do, and trust me, there are things I want to do, I could sell Turner, who I do expect to start for Nottingham Forest on Monday night, but is an issue going forward, to Areola. Now, Areola and West Ham don't have great fixtures coming up, but it would help me save my wild card. I can play Pickford as my goalkeeper for the next few weeks, and then Areola can come in on my bench if I decided that there were no other transfers I want to make. But looking at how the rest of my team have performed this week and the red arrow that I'm going to get this week, I do think I'm going to have to make a transfer. The next 2 revolve around selling Jackson. We bought Jackson in game week 3 and he scored against Luton and has blanked since, and he's also on 4 yellow cards having played 5 matches. He's 1 yellow card away from picking up a suspension, and he doesn't seem to have any sort of discipline of not going and getting that yellow card. So I do think it's quite possible he gets booked in one of the next 2 games and actually misses a nice fixture. There are 2 real options I consider in his place, and that is Julian Alvarez of Manchester City and Morris of Luton Town. Now, Morris is the difficult one. They do have the double in game week 7, which is what does lead me potentially to going and getting him. The fixture in game week 6 is Wolves at home, and they do have Nottingham Forest in game week 9 as well. So the fixtures over the next 4 are pretty good for Luton, but they do just continue to struggle. And the more I look at it, the more I think, well, they'll probably fail to score in at least one of those next 3, Wolves, Everton and Burnley. So instead of having a double game week, he's then got basically 2 single game weeks, given how Luton are performing. And I could just go and buy probably the most underhyped, under-talked about, where he's starting to get a little bit of talk, but Julian Alvarez at 6.8 million playing up front for Manchester City. Now, I kept saying no to him. I kept saying no to him because of Champions League, but he's played every minute. Now, if I'm going to buy him, I'd wait until really close to the game week 6 deadline to do it. They play Champions League midweek. I'd want to see if he starts. Plus, they are the first kickoff in game week 6. So we might get news about whether Alvarez is actually going to start that match. And if we get news he's going to start, I think Jackson to Alvarez is a move I'm going to make. So I do think I'm going to wait right up until the deadline. I will take the 0.1, 0.2 loss that I think I'm going to get on it because of the Champions League games, there is a chance that Alvarez doesn't start at the weekend. And if he doesn't start, then of course I don't want to buy him in. But I do think Jackson's time in my team is up. If I don't go Alvarez, I'll probably go Morris. And the final one is Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell has been very mixed so far this season. He's been playing left wing. They started with Mudryk left wing against Bournemouth. He had a pretty okay game, although generally Chelsea were not that great going forward. Chilwell did come on as a substitute. He then got booked as well, ended up with a 0-pointer. So I am considering selling him and downgrading him quite considerably. Now, the Newcastle defence, I got a lot of hate for talking about the Newcastle defence last week, but they did keep a clean sheet. They did look pretty good, and Botman got a 9-pointer with a lot of bonus points, and I could just do Chilwell to Botman. I could also go Chilwell up to Trippier, but doing that again, I don't fancy Trippier with it blocking future transfers, me wanting to potentially get Son and Salah into my team going forward, so it would be a downgrade. I just think Chelsea's performances are not great. They play Aston Villa next week as well, who are a pretty top performing club at the moment, so I don't think there's going to be many returns for Chelsea assets in that game. So I do think either Jackson or Chilwell could definitely leave my team, and to be honest, it could be both of them. And then the other transfers that I could make revolve around Bruno Fernandes. Now, I have 1.9 million in the bank. I could downgrade him. The only option I really look at when I look at a downgrade is potentially Diaby of Aston Villa. But the issue is they've got Chelsea and Brighton in the next 2. And although Chelsea and Brighton are not great defensively at the moment, I don't necessarily think it's worth it when Bruno has Burnley and Crystal Palace. I don't really think that's a transfer that I need to make going into this week. If I was going to buy Diaby and I decide Diaby is the best option, I'll probably just end up keeping Bruno. Now, I could actually go to Son a week later than everyone else decided to. I'm going to make a move for Son in game week 8 anyway. Whether I do it now or in game week 8, I'm pretty certain he's going to be in my team for that Luton and Fulham fixture. So I actually could bring him in now. The North London derby is often full of goals, and Liverpool are conceding goals still. And if Son is going to continue to play up front, I do still like him as an asset. Slightly concerned that it's never going to be a 90-minute striker option for him. Richarlison came on and got the goal. I still think Richarlison's best place in that Spurs team is an impact sub. But even if he's coming on as a sub, it means Son's going to play 60, 70 minutes up front, then either go onto the left wing or he's going to come off completely, which does put me off slightly. The other thing I could do is take a -4 and go and buy Mo Salah. Now, that probably seems crazy, but Salah's just picked up 2 assists at more. He continues to return. That's 11 games on the bounce. And there are other players in my team that I do consider selling that could free up the money to do it. Those other 2 are those Chelsea assets. So Jackson could be downgraded and Chilwell could be downgraded as well. Chilwell to Botman's a transfer I considered on the previous page anyway. It is slightly annoying that I can't do Jackson to Alvarez. If I could do Bruno Fernandes to Salah, Jackson to Alvarez and Chilwell to Botman for a -4, I think I'd probably do it before even recording this video. I think that would just be certain. But it does mean I have to go Morris, and I'm not that set on Morris as an option and on Luton Town. The more I think about that double game week, it does feel like a bit of a trap. I don't massively want to take a -4 this early on, but Salah and Liverpool do look a little bit better going forward. They are scoring goals. Salah's not scoring a lot of them, but he is highly involved in everything Liverpool do. So a -4 is not that exactly what I want to do, but I do fancy it. Salah in, Morris in, Botman in feel like 3 good players to be buying at the moment. So this is my team for next week. I don't hate it. Jackson at home to Aston Villa, I don't love, but it is a home fixture. Chilwell, there is doubt about whether he's going to start, but I would probably back him starting that one. It is maybe a more difficult fixture. They don't necessarily need Mudryk on the pitch. The Manchester United duo away at Burnley, it is still a good fixture for them. Saka has Spurs at home. Again, I'll probably keep him being on penalties. And Mbeumo has Everton at home. Again, probably going to be my vice captain this week given the fixtures and the performances elsewhere in my team. Shah I'm happy with. Estupiñán I expect to come back in. And Pickford's probably just going to keep his place in goal with that fixture away at Brentford. So I don't hate the lineup, but I do think I'm going to use at least one transfer. I'll probably end up using a minimum of 2. It could be that -4 that we spoke about. Right now, actually, I think that -4 is the most likely transfer. I do fancy Salah. Liverpool look really good. He's actually a bit of a differential. So Fernandes up to Mo Salah would need me to sell both Chilwell and Jackson down to Botman and Morris, but I do think that sets me up quite well for the next few weeks as well. So first initial plans will be Fernandes up to Salah, Jackson down to Morris, and Chilwell down to Botman. It is a -4. I don't love it, but I do think it sets me up really well going forward. And Salah and Liverpool do look great, and I'm happy to be buying him into my team. Now, if I don't do it now, I'll be doing it in about game week 8 or 9 anyway, so I could just get a little bit ahead of the curve. But I need to have a little bit of a time to think about it. I need to have a look at the Manchester City line going into the Champions League, look at whether Alvarez is a punt. Need to just have a little bit of a think about whether this game week is just a bad game week and I can write it off, or whether the players that are not performing are becoming bad FPL assets and whether I really need to be selling them. So probably a day or two to really sit on it, think about my team, and I'll probably wait until after the Champions League to make transfers, because we know injuries, rotation can happen off the back of those Champions League games. So again, those are my plans. We'll wait a few days because it has been an awful game week. Thank you all for watching again. No like or subscriber target for this one. We've hit 80k subs. Just a massive thank you for all your support, for watching the videos, for liking the videos, for just tuning in and watching me every single week, commenting, everything. Thank you all so much for your support. Have a great week, and I'll be back again very soon.